Hi everybody, thank you for tuning into my channel again. Before I forget, can I ask if you like this video, at the end of the video, please like, please comment and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Subscribe to this channel because it really helps me to build up this channel a little bit more. The supporters and the followers are starting to go up a bit, which is brilliant. So thank you everybody for tuning in, and I really appreciate your support. So today I'm going to be talking about visitations. Now, what I mean with regards to visitations is spiritual visitations. A lot of people claim that their past loved ones have come to them, sometimes in dreams or sometimes when they're in between waking and sleeping, when the brain is in more of a theta brainwave state. And some have said that, they've had a visitation when they've been, sort of fully awake. They've had a visit from a spiritual, almost like, it seems paranormal and supernatural, but like a spiritual visitor, that something that isn't human, but something that comes to you into your sphere of reality, into your awareness, that isn't of this world, okay? Or isn't of the world anymore as we know it. So a past loved one or something like that, okay? Some people say that, ascended masters come to them, or spiritual teachers that are across the other side, things like that. Angels, archangels, things like this, okay? Now, some people, so if this isn't for you, if this doesn't resonate with you, that's fine. I'm not trying to convince you that my truth is truer than yours, okay? But some people have claimed that they have seen this with their own eyes, or they've felt it, or they've sensed it. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to explain a little bit about what I feel happens with a visitation, and then I'm just going to briefly talk about my own experience with a visitation with my nan when she passed away many years ago, okay? So a visitation, something coming into your sphere of reality, presenting itself to you, even if it is in the dream state, that isn't of this world. So everything that seems to be outside of us. So we end here and then the rest is outside of us and nothing to do with us. The outside world that we see right up to the horizon is actually a projection of our own subconscious mind. Everything is, I believe, actually happening on a mind level, okay? And this is how powerful we are. We don't realise this, we're never told this, we're never taught it, and it seems very much a big mystery, and some people are not really open to even learning about that, because sometimes it can almost freak us out and scare us a little bit, because then we realise just how vast and powerful we are. So from here to the horizon, everything is your subconscious mind, is your soul projecting and mirroring everything that you're a frequency of or a vibrational match to back to you, okay? So when these visitors come into our sphere of reality, yes, it is happening on a mind level, but everything is happening on a mind level. Even all of the solid objects, everything, every other person that we see outside of us is still a projection of the one mind. All minds are joined, okay? There is no separation really. And everything that we see outside of us is on a level of the mind. So if you see, so it's the idea that if you see or you're experiencing something that makes you feel uncomfortable or you don't like, what part of the mind needs healing that is making you see it that way, for it to be mirrored back to you that way? Yes, things look like they're solid objects and you think, well, I've got no control over objects outside of me. Well, the truth is, you haven't got control per se of that object, but you do have control of the way you see it, okay? So if you change the way you see something, that thing will change, because you've switched the way you see it, okay? So that's how we do healing of the mind and things like that. Subconscious healing, subconscious programming, belief change, things like that. If something isn't quite how we would want it to be, instead of trying to change the perceived outside object, how can we change the way we look at it? How can we see it through healed eyes so that it no longer affects us or bothers us in a negative way? So coming back to the visitation, so a lot of people might say, oh, that was just in your imagination, nobody really came to you. Oh, you just dreamt that. Okay, now I don't believe that that's necessarily true. Yes, it's still happening on a mind level, but it doesn't make it any less real, okay? When these visitors of a spiritual frequency come to you, it's because on some level you're open to it. Okay, some level you are a frequency match to that, right? So it's not by accident that these come into the sphere of your reality. And usually with visitation, sometimes if you said, well, I was asleep and I was dreaming, but it wasn't like a normal dream, usually when a past loved one, for example, comes to you in a dream, you can tell the difference between our strange dreams that we have that don't seem to make sense, and someone in some form who you love come into you as more of a visitation, because sometimes they don't necessarily speak. Sometimes they might say certain clear words to us, but it's more of a telepathic communication, or it's more of a more loving kind of gaze or connection there. So I do feel like a visitation is something that is very clear what is going on. You know who the person is. It feels like a very loving presence. You can pick up on what they're communicating with you without words. Okay, so that I feel is more of a visitation. So if someone that you love passed away steps into a dream, sometimes what happens is you could be dreaming all of the random strange things that don't seem to make sense, but they do make some sense to the subconscious mind, but we don't always interpret it properly. Sometimes those visitations can just step in and interrupt a dream. So you may have had that as well before. Okay, so that visitation is happening because on some level you are open to it and it is meant to be happening. And usually these visitations are just to give you a feeling of that you are loved and that they're not far away. Okay, and the reason a lot of the time spirit comes to us in dreams is because when we're in the dream state, our brain waves are a wave of what is called theta, which is that's the type of brainwave that you would find people in if they were under hypnosis, for example. It's the same sort of thing. So you go into a deeper brainwave state, which means that the conscious mind, this chatterboxing all day to you all the time, starts sort of switching off a little bit and becoming quiet. And then the subconscious mind, the theta brainwave activity is becoming more dominant. Okay, so when that theta brainwave state is active, it's easier for spirit to connect with you. It's easier for the past loved ones to connect with you. It's easier for you to tune into the cosmos. It's easier for you to tune into spirit, okay, when you're in the theta brainwave state, because your conscious mind isn't questioning it or saying, oh, that's not real, you know? So my experience with regards to a visitation is when my nan, I was very close to my nan. My nan died back in 1999, so it was a long time ago. But I didn't get to see her before she passed, because she passed unexpectedly. She went into hospital for something that was, pretty not routine. Yes, she did become ill, but when she went into hospital, we thought, oh, she's on the mend. She's going to be okay. They're going to sort her out. And then sadly, the next day, she actually had a heart attack and died. Nobody knew this was going to happen. The family weren't with her. Everyone's very, upset that they weren't with my nan when she passed. But the other thing that I would just want to drop in here as an extra bit of information is, if you do know anyone that passed away on their own, I can categorically tell you, okay, I feel extremely sure that they're never truly on their own when they pass. And sometimes the soul chooses for people on the earthly realm not to be there, because what happens sometimes is when people are surrounding the dying person and they're not ready for them to die, sometimes they cling on, they attach to that person very, very hard, and that's harder then for the soul to pass across, because the family are clinging, really, really clinging. So sometimes the soul will choose for the avatar, for example, my nan, to pass on their own, because it would have been an easier transition, because truly she wasn't on her own. I feel very, very certain that spirit would have been heavily surrounding her. Apparently we've all got at least 10,000 angels supporting us all the time. They all would have been there helping her towards the light. The archangels that come in when people die, they would have been there. There's so much help from the other side, spirit side, to help that soul transition. And sometimes it is an easier transition when they can just go boop over, and spirit can help them towards the light so that they can carry on with their journey. Okay, so my nan passed on her own. So what happened was then, because I didn't get to see her, I was due to see her the next day, and I couldn't go the day before because I had exams in school, and she made it very, very clear, no, you have to do your exam. It was an art exam. Very, very clear that no, you come after you've done that work, and then you can come the next day because I'll be here the next day. And then sadly she wasn't. Okay, so she came to me. We were staying at, all of us, we've got a big family, we were all staying at her house when she passed, because my uncle actually still lives in the house. He always lived with my nan and my granddad, so he was still there. So we all piled over to that house because that's the house that we very much felt at home in. So I remember and my uncle had given up his bed, bless him, for me, my mum and my auntie actually. There was 3 of us in the bed. You know what it's like when it's times like that, you just sleep where you can. And if you've all got a sort of top and tail or whatever, then that's what you do. What happened was the night that we slept there, the next morning, I was starting to rouse from sleep. It was pretty early in the morning, pretty early because not everybody was awake. And I know a lot of my family are early risers. Obviously, a lot of us were tired because it does very much drain you. And I remember being in a state of sleep, but also waking reality as well. I was in that in-between state where you're not fully awake, so the conscious monkey mind hasn't started chatterboxing about everything. So I was still very much in that relaxed theta brainwave state where I you know, when it takes a little bit of time for the realization of what's happened to hit you again the next morning when you wake up, it was that type of state. And I was just remembering, oh, Nan's not here anymore. And then she appeared. So I was still obviously lying down in bed, and I was facing the doorway. It was all light. It was light. It was light in the morning. It was, you know, it wasn't dark or anything. It was light. It was that, you know, the sunrise had already happened. And then there she was. Now, the only way I can describe her was, if I had to use one word, absolutely radiant. I have never seen so much radiance in my life. She was there in what looked like a physical form, but you could tell it was more etheric, okay? Now, many would say, oh, it's just in your imagination. I don't feel that was in my imagination. But even if it was in my imagination, to me, doesn't mean it was any less real of an experience or a visit, okay? So because I was still in that theta slow brainwave state, her spirit or soul took the opportunity to present herself to me then, because I didn't get to see her. I know what she was doing. She was saying, I'm okay. I've managed to get to the other side. All right, I'm going, but I'm just dropping in to say bye to you because we didn't get to see each other. Okay. I feel and know that that was the message, because that is the message that I felt was coming through. She was in the doorway. So there was the doorway, and she almost had like a hand on either side of the doorway. It wasn't scary. That was the other thing. It just wasn't scary. It was lovely, okay? So she was stood in the doorway, and when she got a little bit older, before she passed, she was a bit, you know, when they go a little bit more little and a little bit more stooped, she had a straight spine. I mean, she was like a whole, or some would say, holy self. And what I really remember as well is she was very, very strong, very strong version of herself. The light that was radiating behind her, or what seemed to be behind her, I couldn't see beyond that doorway. All I could see was like a yellow, gold, white light. And it was so bright that, you know, it was almost difficult for me to look at it because it was so bright. So she stood there. She looked strong. She looked like her whole self. She was a healed version of herself. Very, very healed version of herself. And she came to me and she just lingered there just for a little while. And I knew that her message to me was, all is well. It's okay. I'm good. I'm fine. And I couldn't describe the light that was emanating from her. Okay. That was her true form. That was her true self. Radiant, whole, complete, well. Okay. Yeah, she wasn't in the human body anymore, because the human body had the organic vessel that she used as Eva when she was in the incarnation had ceased to exist because something had gone wrong with it. Okay, she had a heart attack because she'd lost some blood. So that vessel could no longer be used. Doesn't mean that her spirit wasn't still existing though. And I knew full well that that was her. And she looked absolutely fine. She looked very, very calm, at ease, no pain, no trauma, nothing. And she came to me, she filled that whole doorway with light, and she lingered there, and then she went. But I knew that she wasn't really far away. She was showing me, look, I'm just here. I'm in this doorway. And doorways are very symbolic of like portals and go into the next part of the journey, going through the doorway. It was almost as if, here's the earthly realm where you are. Spirit is behind me where all this light is, but I'm not that far away. The fact that we're separated is an illusion. That was the message that I was getting through from her. And I just felt very, very pleased that I knew truly that she was okay. And she was coming to give me that message. I have since had visitations from her in dreams since, and I know that they're real visits. And it's always a sense of, I'm only just here. I'm not far away, okay? There's never any speaking. It's more of a telepathic communication. But if you've had this experience, let me know in the comments, because I find it very, very interesting. And I do truly believe that the spirit connections and the visits that you've had are on some form of reality, real. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.